Growing up abroad, my mom was terrified I'd bring home some foreign guy. So, she arranged for me to get engaged to a supposedly perfect fiancé back in Chicago. I was expected to be thrilled. I went to this fancy boutique, searching for an engagement party dress. I spotted this amazing cream-colored strapless gown. I was about to grab it to try on when the woman next to me gave it a once-over. "That dress is kind of cute," she said to the sales associate, loud enough for me to hear.
Bring
"It over here. I'll try it on." The sales associate snatched the dress right out of my hands like I was nobody. "Excuse me," I snapped. I saw it first. "Isn't there like a line or something?" She just smirked at me. "Honey, this dress costs 18 grand. Can you even afford it?" Unlike the adopted sister of Blake Harrington, CEO of Harrington Enterprises, in this city, how incredibly convenient. Blake Harrington was my fiancé. I immediately called Blake. "Your adopted sister just stole the dress I wanted for our engagement party. What's up with that?" The term adopted sister sounded shady. If Blake couldn't give me a decent explanation, the engagement was off. But Blake's voice was ice cold. "Who is this? Whatever's going on between Willow and you is none of your damn business." I was about to say, "I'm your freaking fiancé." But he hung up on me. I was fuming. He didn't even have my number saved. Willow, or whatever her name was glowing. "Did you think getting Blake's number would get you somewhere? Keep dreaming." She gave me this sneering look like I was something she scraped off her shoe. "The cleaning ladies at Harrington Enterprises dress better than you. Usually prioritize comfort over designer labels. Never thought I'd get judged for it." Seriously. You're still pulling that whole judging a book by its cover crap? Blake must be blind to put up with you. The whole thing had ruined my mood for dress shopping. I just grabbed the gown and headed for the register. The saleswoman gave me a hesitant look. "As our store prioritizes our members." Willow's smile widened. She whipped out a gold card and slapped it on the counter. $1 million membership, sweetie. What are you going to do? Pay with lint? I'm not usually one to cause a scene, but Willow was really pushing my buttons. I pulled out my black card and handed it to the saleswoman, trying to keep my voice steady. "Sign me up for a membership and ring up the dress." Willow turned to the saleswoman, all sweetness and light. "This is Blake Harrington's town. If you sell her that dress, I'll have him buy this entire store and fire you tomorrow." The saleswoman looked terrified. "Miss, I just work here. I can't afford to mess with the Harringtons." A bunch of people around us started chiming in. "She's right. Honey, Blake Harrington totally spoils Willow. Just let it go." Yeah, someone crossed her once and Harrington Enterprises ruined them. Even if you have some money, it's nothing compared to the Harringtons. Apologize to Willow and maybe she'll let it slide. All the brown-nosing was clearly inflating Willow's ego. "You better get on your knees right now and scream. I'm a cheap-ass wannabe." I messed up. "Maybe, just maybe, I'll think about letting you off the hook. I'm 26 years old." Nobody had ever had the guts to talk to me like that. "Say that again? Are you deaf?" "I'm a cheap-ass wannabe. I messed up. Can you not hear?" I couldn't help but smirk. "Got it. Since you already know you're a cheap-ass wannabe, why don't you get the hell out of my way and stop embarrassing yourself?" Willow realized she'd been played. She wound up her arm and swung at me. "Please. I've got a black belt in Taekwondo." I could take her down with one hand. I kicked her legs right out from under her. She went down hard, screaming like a banshee. Everyone around us gasped. Oh my God, she just attacked Willow. Blake Harrington is going to have her drawn and quartered. She's screwed. Even Jesus couldn't save her now. I didn't give a damn. My family practically built the Harrington's empire. No one in this city scared me. I slammed my card back on the counter. Ring it up. The saleswoman looked like she was about to faint, but she swiped the card and bagged the dress. I grabbed the bag and turned to leave, but Willow scrambled to her feet and blocked my path. You're not going anywhere. I waved my hand in front of her face. You want another taste of my foot? Willow flinched and I laughed and kept walking. Just then, a black Maybach pulled up to the curb. The first thing I saw was a perfectly polished shoe hitting the pavement. Oh, thank God. I looked up and instantly felt a thrill. This guy was like 6'3", broad shoulders, long legs, and a face that could launch 1,000 ships. Sharp jawline, no flaws. Willow started bawling and ran to him. Blake, she stole the dress I wanted, and then she hit me. So, this was my fiancé. I'm a sucker for a pretty face, and Blake was definitely my type. I gave him what I hoped was my most dazzling smile. Hi, I'm Reagan Sterling. Your fiancé, my mom was right. She really does know me. The crowd went wild. What? She's Blake. Harrington's fiancé. The fiancé definitely outranks the adopted sister. No wonder she was acting so tough. Maybe it depends on who Blake likes more. Blake stared at me, his voice hard. Don't get any ideas. This whole engagement was my dad's idea. I never agreed to it. Willow wrapped her arm around his and leaned into him, shooting me a look of pure triumph. Blake would never marry Anne. Ugly pig like you. Someone else piped up. Yeah, Blake would marry some rich society girl, not some hick. She's not even good enough to clean the toilets at Harrington Enterprises. I wouldn't call myself a supermodel, but I'm definitely not. Ugly? How did I suddenly become Quasimodo? People are such freaking sheep, always sucking up to whoever they think is on top. Blake, tell your dad I'm calling off the engagement. You're not good enough for me. My mom said his dad had practically begged for this marriage to happen. He finds out his son blew it all up. Blake's going to be so screwed. That thought cheered me up a little. I turned to leave, but Willow wouldn't let it go, still riding high on Blake's attention. She stepped in front of me again. You're not getting away that easy? You stole my dress and you hit me? I'm not done with you yet. I gave her a bored look. What are you going to do about it? Willow thought I was scared. She raised her hand to slap me. I'm going to beat you until I feel better. Grabbed her wrist, my other hand flashed out, and I slapped her across the face hard. She stared at me, stunned. You dare. I backhanded her again, feeling better yet. 2 slaps took the wind right out of her. She burst into tears and hid behind Blake. Blake, you have to do something. Blake pulled Willow into his arms, glaring at me. You hurt my Willow. You're going to regret that? He nodded at his bodyguards. Get her. I threw the first punch, knocking one of them to the ground, but I couldn't take them both. I went down hard, pain shooting through me. The bodyguards hauled me to my feet and dragged me in front of Blake and Willow. Blake gave Willow a cold smile. You want to punish her? Go for it. I've got your back. Willow's face lit up. She slapped me twice, then spit right in my face. You thought you were so tough, didn't you? How tough are you now? She kicked me hard in the stomach. I clutched my belly, gasping, and looked up at her and Blake. You're going to regret this, I promise. You, Willow laughed. The Harringtons are one of the top 3 richest families in Chicago. What can a nobody like you possibly do to us? Today you're going to learn what happens when you mess with me. She pulled a nail clipper out of her purse and slashed it across my face. My cheek burned like hell, and I felt the skin swell. Someone muttered, I told her not to mess with the Harringtons. Now she's paying for it. Such a pretty girl, and she just ruined her face. Sometimes it's better to just swallow your pride, you know. Willow raised the nail clipper again, ready to cut me. The thought of being disfigured terrified me. I begged her. I'm sorry, the dress is yours. Shouldn't have argued with you. I'd get my revenge later. Right now, I had to save my face. But Willow slashed me again. Too late for apologies. I won't let you go until I've had my fill of revenge. I screamed, and looked at Blake, pleading. Blake, you don't know who I am. You'll regret letting her do this to me. Blake sneered. Who are you? Just some gold digger whose mom must have blown my dad's mind for him to force this engagement on me? Willow's eyes gleamed with malice. Your mom is a whore, so you must be a little whore too. I should strip you naked. Maybe that'll get rid of the smell. No, just then my phone rang.
I strode
to reach for it, but Willow grabbed it first. She swiped to answer. My mom's voice boomed from the speaker. Reagan, how did the dress shopping go? Screamed. Mom, help me, I'm being attacked. They're trying to strip me. My mom went ballistic. What? Who is doing this? Willow cackled. It's Willow, you dumb old hag. Your little whore daughter was being a whore, so I'm teaching her a lesson? My mom's voice was tight with rage. I don't care who you are. Let my daughter go right now or you'll be sorry. Come and get me. I'll be waiting right here. Can't wait to see your little face. She hung up and threw the phone to the ground. It shattered into a million pieces. Willow slapped me again, like mother, like daughter. When your mom gets here, I'll strip her naked too. As the minutes ticked by. It had only been 5 minutes, but it felt like a lifetime. Finally, a familiar black limousine pulled into view. My mom stepped out of the car. The moment my mother stepped out of that limo, the entire street seemed to fall into a strange hush. Her heels clicked with a kind of authority that silenced the wind itself. She wore a sharp, tailored navy coat with gold buttons and a silk scarf, wrapped tight around her throat. I'd seen that look on her face before, only twice. Once when an embassy official tried to deny her clearance, and once when a man tried to mug her in Morocco. Neither of them walked away smiling. She stopped just outside the circle that had formed around me. Her voice was cool and piercing. "Get your hands off my daughter." Nobody moved. Willow still stood over me, nail clipper dangling from her hand. And Blake had this smug, lazy grin like this was all a cute little distraction. But my mother didn't raise her voice. She didn't have to. She simply walked right up to the bodyguards holding me and gave them one look. That was all it took. They dropped me like I was made of fire, crumpled to the ground, pain flaring in. My ribs, cheek, shoulder, but I didn't care. My mother was here. She stood between me and them now like a wall of iron. One of the bodyguards cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we were just following orders." Blake Harrington, ... "I don't give a damn who gave the orders," she said. "But you know who I am?" One of them shook his head slowly. The other looked like he was starting to sweat. She took a breath and looked directly at Blake. "Do you know who I am, young man?" Blake chuckled, folding his arms. "Someone's angry mommy, I guess." My mother's smile was thin and dangerous. Yves Sterling. "And if you don't recognize that name, then you're not nearly as educated as you pretend to be." I heard someone in the crowd gasp. Then a few murmurs. "Sterling, as in Sterling Global?" "No way. She runs the offshore accounts for half the UN. I thought she lived in Geneva." "Wait, is that why she's called Geneva Sterling?" Willow's face lost a little color. Blake looked more annoyed than anything. "Good for you. You're rich, and you have an attitude. That doesn't change the fact that your daughter is a violent maniac." She hit Willow. My mom crouched down beside me gently. She brushed my hair away from my bloody face, her eyes full of fire. "Did you lay a hand on her first?" I shook my head slowly, only in self-defense. My mother stood up and faced Blake again. "You better pray she only defended herself. Because if your sister leaves a single scar on my child, I will file charges so fast and so loudly that your family name won't survive the week." Blake rolled his eyes. "You think I care about some lawsuit?" My mom smirked. "I'm not talking about lawsuits. I'm talking about wire fraud, tax shelter violations, that little bribery setup your father tried to pull off with the city council. You think people don't talk? My firm audits 7 of the banks your father launders his dividends through." The color drained from Blake's face. My mom stepped forward again. "And as for your little attack dog," she turned slowly to Willow, who had started backing up. "You touched the wrong girl. I didn't know." Willow stammered, her voice cracking. "I didn't know she was your daughter? You think that changes anything?" My mom snapped. "You think it's fine to disfigure women you don't know? To mock people in public? To swing your fists around because someone tried to buy a dress?" Willow's voice was trembling. "She started it. She finished it," my mom corrected. "And now I'll finish it for her." Without looking away, my mom pulled out her phone and dialed. "Harold," she said, "pull every contract our firm has with Harrington. Enterprises, effective immediately. Freeze the compliance reports and transfer all documentation to legal. We're initiating a class action referral, civil and criminal. I'll send the name Blake Harrington." Blake's jaw twitched. "Can't be serious," he hissed. "This is insane." My mom looked him dead in the eye. "No, what's insane is thinking you can lay hands on a Sterling and walk away unscathed. That's when it all broke loose." Phones came out. People started filming. The same crowd that had been jeering at me a few minutes ago was now whispering furiously, angling to get better footage. Someone whispered, Geneva Sterling's going nuclear. Blake looked like he wanted to punch someone. Willow had gone white as a ghost. Let's go, my mom said to me, offering her hand. I took it shakily. I didn't even realize I was crying until I felt the warmth of her hand in mine. We walked back toward the limo. Someone shouted, is it true she's pressing charges? Another said, Willow's going to get sued for everything she has. As I slid into the limo, I looked out at the boutique. Willow was sobbing into her manicured hands. Blake was talking rapidly on his phone, eyes darting to the cameras. The crowd had turned. The last thing I saw was the dress, my dress still clutched in the saleswoman's hands. My mom caught her eye and gestured with 2 fingers. Send that to my daughter's penthouse. The woman nodded furiously. The door shut and silence fell. Inside the limo, I let the tears fall, not out of pain, but out of pure shaken adrenaline. My mother handed me a soft cloth to press against my cheek. Blood. Dotted it quickly. I'm sorry, I whispered. Should have called earlier. She touched my hand. Don't ever apologize for being attacked. You're not weak, Reagan. You handled yourself. You just picked the wrong family to get entangled with. I didn't even want to be engaged to him, I admitted. You know that, right? I know, she said. I only pushed it because I thought it would keep you safe while we were still negotiating those overseas deals. But I was wrong. Blake Harrington is toxic. His sister is worse. What happens now? She looked out the tinted window as the city passed us by. Now I bury them. Over the next few days, the fallout was brutal. Warrington Enterprises made the front page of every business journal in the country. Sterling global withdrawals. From Harrington Partnership was splashed in bold across headlines. Stocks tumbled. Reporters swarmed their headquarters. Old scandals were dragged out of the grave. The SEC launched an inquiry. Whispers of foreign corruption and shell companies overseas became shouts. And Willow? Oh, poor Willow. The boutique. Security footage leaked. It showed everything. Slaps, the insults, the crowd cheering her on, and the moment she cut my face. That part went viral. Overnight, she was the most hated woman in Chicago. She released a tearful apology video. Claimed she was emotionally unstable, that she was under stress, but no one was buying it. Sponsors pulled out of whatever influencer crap she had going on. Blake tried to do damage control, but it was too late. And me? I laid low stitches on my cheek, bruised, ribs, but nothing permanent. Mom wanted to move me into her estate for a while, but I said no. Stayed in my penthouse, surrounded by silence and skyline. I needed the quiet until one night my phone buzzed. A private number. I hesitated, then answered. A smooth voice spoke. Miss Sterling, I saw what happened. I'd like to meet you. Who is this? Let's just say someone who doesn't like the Harringtons. Either, I think we could help each other. That was the moment I knew this was bigger than a stolen dress. This was war. I wasn't fighting alone anymore. Stared at the phone for a long moment after the call ended. Hadn't answered right. Away. The voice had sounded calm, deliberate, too smooth for comfort. But something in the way he said, I think we could help each other, lit a spark in my mind that hadn't ignited in days. Help. Not pity, not sympathy, help. The number vanished. From my screen the moment the call ended. No name, no trace. I should have ignored it. I didn't. The next morning, a sleek black envelope was slid under the door of my penthouse. Thick, glossy paper, no stamp, no return address. Inside was a single card. 1 p.m. tomorrow. Bring your mind, not your emotions. Tower Club, level 40, private room south. I showed it to my mother over breakfast. She arched one brow, but said nothing. Geneva Sterling never liked surprises, but she trusted instinct more than control. Do you want me to send someone with you? She asked. No, I replied. If someone wanted to hurt me, they had plenty of chances. She nodded once and sat down. Her tea, then go. But don't sign a damn thing until you read every syllable. You're a Sterling, act like it. The Tower Club was pure opulence. Crystal chandeliers hung from the vaulted ceilings, and each room was staffed by people so silent they might as well have floated. I was led up in a private elevator that required both a key card and a retina scan. No joke. Room south was tucked behind a dark hallway lined with soundproof glass. When I walked in, I found a man standing at the far end looking out the window. Turned. He looked young, maybe 32. Tall, dark suit, crisp shirt, but no tie. His features were sharp, with a scar above his left eyebrow that gave his otherwise polished look a slightly dangerous edge. His eyes were steel gray. "Reagan Sterling," he said. "You don't look like someone who just got humiliated by one of Chicago's wealthiest families." I didn't flinch. "I don't plan on staying humiliated." "Who are you?" He pulled out a chair at the small round table and gestured for me to sit. "I'm Declan Ward, CEO of Lux Vantage Holdings." I blinked. Lux Vantage was one of the top 5 rival firms to Harrington Enterprises. They ran clean energy robotics and had quietly cornered half the luxury real estate market downtown. "Why am I here?" I asked. He said, "Because you've done something no one else has managed in 10 years. Embarrassed Willow and Blake Harrington publicly. You cracked the illusion, shook the pedestal, and now they're bleeding financially. Politically, socially, and you want to pour salt in the wound?" I asked. "I want to turn the wound into a crater," he said without smiling. "With your help?" I leaned back. "What do you mean with my help?" "I'm not a strategist or a business shark. I was just a girl shopping for a dress." Declan's gaze sharpened. "You're more than that. Your mother built offshore systems so complex, most nations couldn't touch them. Your family name is whispered with either fear or awe. And whether you meant to or not, you've become the weak point in Blake's dynasty." I narrowed my eyes. "You think I'm a liability?" "No," he said. "I think you're leverage, and that makes you dangerous. I want to make sure you're dangerous too. Them, not to yourself. What do you want me to do?" He placed a folder on the table. "This is what Blake and his father have been hiding. Tax evasion, real estate fraud, collusion with city officials. There's enough in here to ruin them permanently, but it won't hold up in court unless it comes from someone close enough to the family, someone who is almost a Harrington." "You want me to be your whistleblower?" I said. He didn't confirm or deny. "I want you to decide who you really are. Some spoiled heiress who gets slapped in a boutique and fades away, or someone who takes control of the narrative." I opened the folder. There were photos, receipts, bank transfers, email printouts. Blake's signature was on more documents than I could count, most damning. One photo showed Blake with a briefcase, slipping it to a man in a trench coat behind City Hall. "You got all this how? I have my ways." I studied him. "Why help me?" He hesitated. Then he said, "Because once a Harrington ruined someone I cared about, she died thinking she had no options. I'm not letting them do it again." The silence between us thickened. "I'll think about it," I said. He nodded. "Good, but don't take too long. The Harringtons recover quickly. The clock is ticking." I stood and took the folder with me. As I left, I could feel the walls shift inside me. Something about Declan wasn't just calculated. He was personal, and if he hated Blake that much, then maybe I wasn't just a pawn. Maybe I was the queen. When I got back to my penthouse, my mother was waiting. I told her everything. She didn't even blink when I handed her the folder. After flipping through a few pages, she smiled. "I always knew that boy was stupid. This ... this is gold." "You think Declan's being honest?" I asked. "He's smart enough to be useful. Just don't fall for him." "Who said anything about falling?" She gave me a look. "Fine," I muttered. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept seeing Willow's face as she raised that clipper. Blake smirking as he ordered his bodyguards. The crowd, cheering her on, then laughing, then filming. I got up and paced the apartment until sunrise. Then I called Declan. "I'm in." The plan came together in 3 phases. Phase 1, public perception. Agreed to do a sit-down interview with Midnight. City, the most watched podcast in the Midwest. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I told the truth calmly, factually. I described the boutique, the slaps, the threats, left out the scar. People could see it now. The makeup couldn't fully hide it. The episode exploded. 10 million views in 24 hours. Women rallied. Men questioned Blake's character. Former Harrington employees began coming out of the woodwork. Lawsuits sprouted like weeds. Phase 2. Legal positioning. Geneva and Declan worked together, an odd team, to prepare a formal complaint against Harrington Enterprises. Meanwhile, I signed an affidavit about the attack. Willow was served with a restraining order. I made sure the press got a copy. Willow tried to post a TikTok where she cried into her dog's fur. People were done with her. Comments flooded in. You made your bed. You slashed her face and now you're crying. Karma's got good aim. Phase 3. Retaliation. That was the hard part, because Blake came knocking. It's not literally, but his lawyer sent a letter. A threat. A cease and desist, claiming I was defaming. It backfired. Declan had anticipated it. We leaked it. The internet took one look and went full scorched earth. Rich boy threatens a woman he abused. Sponsors started dropping Harrington Enterprises like a bad stock. That's when Blake finally caved. He showed up at my penthouse one night. I opened the door, and there he was. Blake Harrington, in a charcoal suit, tired eyes, and no entourage. Can we talk? He asked. Talk. I folded my arms. About what? Whether my face is symmetrical enough now to be your wife? He sighed. Reagan, I didn't know Willow was going to go that far. You watched it happen? I countered. No, you chose. Don't confuse cowardice with helplessness. He flinched. Here to make peace, he said. Finally, our families. Your family is a crime syndicate wrapped in a trust fund. He went pale. You've made your point, but I still think we can fix this. You think we can fix this? I asked, stepping back and revealing the folder sitting on the coffee table. Already did. He looked at it. He looked at me. He left. No words, no apology, just defeat. By the end of the week, Willow was in hiding. Blake was off every board he served on. His father had gone quiet, rumored to be lawyering up. I stood in front of the mirror, touched the scar on my cheek, and smiled. I had survived their war, but this was only the beginning, because now, I wasn't just Reagan Sterling, daughter of Geneva. Now, I was a woman who cracked the Harrington Empire. I'd always thought revenge would feel like champagne, sharp, bubbly, intoxicating. But as the dust settled over the crater we blasted into the Harrington Empire, I found myself surrounded by silence, not celebration. Silence and legal paperwork. A lot of it. The kind of revenge I was after wasn't personal anymore. It had evolved. It wasn't just about a scar on my face or the blood in the boutique dressing room. It was about the system, about every enabler, every board member who voted yes without reading the fine print. Every executive who looked away while Blake and his father used Harrington Enterprises like a private army. And I wasn't fighting alone. It began with a contract. Declan sent it through encrypted email. Subject line, let's build something better. Inside was a full business proposal, 50% stake. Sterling Ward Holdings, a new firm, equal power, no back doors, no fine print designed to bleed one side dry. I called him the second I finished reading it. You're serious? I asked. A hostile takeover? Me. He didn't hesitate. Because you know what it's like to bleed in public. You know what it costs to rebuild from real pain. That's the kind of person I want to work with, not someone who's never lost. I didn't say yes. Not yet, but I didn't say no, because deep down, I already knew the answer. While I pondered that decision, Declan and my mother worked in tandem like two generals on opposite ends of a battlefield. Lobbing missiles of legal chaos at the Harrington dynasty, the SEC had launched an official investigation into the company's foreign tax havens. A former Harrington CFO came forward with damning internal memos, documents that showed Blake's father, Vincent Harrington, had forged city contracts to funnel millions into fake real estate projects, a shell game of luxury condos that only existed on paper. Suddenly, Blake wasn't a golden boy anymore. He was a liability. The board turned on him in less than 72 hours. He was stripped of his voting rights and asked to step down from public appearances. Willow disappeared completely. Her last online post was a blurry selfie captioned healing in nature with 2 heart emojis. which promptly got ratioed into oblivion. Then came the Harrington Gala. It was an annual event, a glittering affair held in the glass penthouse of the Amaro's Tower, towering over Chicago like a monument to unchecked ego. Black ties, white gloves, flowing champagne, and the scent of seven-figure donations in the air. This year, it was being hosted under new management, minus Blake and Vincent. My invitation arrived in a red envelope. Inside, Miss Reagan Sterling, you are cordially invited to the 37th Annual Harrington Gala, sponsored by the Harrington Legacy Foundation. Dress code, formal. Purpose, reputation. RSVP not required. We expect you. Subtle as a slap. I showed the card to Declan over coffee. You think it's a trap? I asked. It's bait, he said. But sometimes the best play is to bite. I raised a brow. Want me to walk into a room full of people who either mocked me, tried to ruin me, or helped cover up a felony assault? Exactly, he said. It's because this time, you won't be walking in as Blake's fiancé. You'll be walking in as the reason he's no longer on the guest list. The night of the gala, I wore war paint. Not literal, but close. A deep emerald gown that hugged like power. Hair swept back. It's no necklace, just a single earring. Mother of pearl, shaped like a dagger. And my scar, faint but proud, untouched by concealer. Declan met me in the limo. He was in a black tux. No tie again. But tonight it worked. The kind of quiet rebellion that whispered, I make the rules, not follow them. You ready? He asked. I was born ready. No, Reagan, you were made ready. We stepped out under the flashing lights of the press. Cameras popped. People whispered. Some stared at the scar. Others lowered their eyes, ashamed they'd ever sided with Willow. Inside, the ballroom gleamed like a frozen storm. White marble, ice sculptures, a string quartet playing Mozart, crystal chandeliers above, power all around, and yet the tension was palpable. Every conversation stopped the moment I walked in. Vincent Harrington was already there, standing near the champagne tower, flanked by 3 lawyers and a woman I recognized from the Department of Commerce. He saw me, his jaw clenched. He didn't move. Neither did I. Declan leaned in. Want to say hello? I want to say watch. I made my way through the room slowly, not avoiding eye contact, meeting it. Faces from the boutique incident looked away. In shame? One woman came up and whispered, I believed her back then. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I nodded, but said nothing. Then, halfway across the floor, I saw her. Willow, hair dyed darker, makeup heavy. Wearing a gold gown too tight and a smile too bright, she looked older, harsher. Her eyes met mine. She flinched, not much but enough. She stepped forward. Reagan. I raised a brow, still swinging nail clippers at strangers. I'm different now, I know, I said. Less powerful, less relevant. Her lips tightened. Blake's leaving the country. Running, I corrected.
You did this?
No, you did. I just refused to stay quiet about it. She hesitated. You got what you wanted. So why are you here? I smiled. To remind everyone what happens when you bet against a Sterling. I walked past her and stepped up onto the stage where the microphone sat waiting. People began to murmur. Declan watched from the side. I tapped the mic once. Good evening. My name is Reagan Sterling. You may remember me as Blake Harrington's former fiancée, or more recently, the woman he tried to silence. A hush swept the room. I continued, I came here tonight not to gloat, but to rebuild. Harrington Enterprises has failed, not just in business ethics, but in humanity. For years it ran on abuse, silence, and fear. That era ends tonight. I gestured to the screens behind me. Declan had synced them. They lit up. Images of internal documents, whistleblower reports, photos not graphic, just enough to make people uncomfortable. Truth is powerful like that. As of this week, I said, Sterling Ward Holdings has acquired 52% of the Harrington Board's voting shares. We are now the majority stakeholders. Gasps, shouts. Vincent dropped his champagne glass. Effective immediately, I added. All board. Decisions will be reviewed by an independent compliance panel. Blake and Willow are banned from all company property. The legacy you've built on intimidation ends here. Someone clapped, then someone else, and before I knew it, the room erupted. In applause, even the string quartet started nodding along. I stepped down. Declan met me halfway and offered his hand. I didn't take it. Kissed him. Not for drama, not for show, but because he was right. I wasn't made for this. I was forged out of glass. And fire and pressure. I just became the woman Blake Harrington would never stop fearing. The next morning, headlines exploded. Sterling Ward Holdings declares war on old money corruption. Reagan Sterling takes control of Harrington Empire. From victim to visionary, the rise of Chicago's new queenpin. I didn't read all of them. I was busy planning the future because the world had watched me fall. Now it would watch me build. Brick by brick, scar by scar. And I wasn't just getting even. I was getting everything. The city felt different now. Sharper, colder, but electric with possibility. Chicago was. Watching me, waiting to see what the daughter of Geneva Sterling would do with the power she claimed. I wasn't naive enough to think the war was over. It had just taken a new shape, more complicated, darker, and more dangerous. The morning after the gala, my phone rang early. Declan, get to the office, he said, voice clipped. We have a problem. When I arrived at Sterling Ward's sleek downtown headquarters, Declan was already in the conference room, staring at multiple screens. Look at this, he said, pointing to a live news feed. As the headline read, Mysterious Fire Destroys Harrington Archives. Investigation underway. Behind the headline, footage showed thick black smoke billowing from a Harrington building. Emergency crews working frantically to control the blaze. I thought we had control, I said. We do, Declan replied. But someone's desperate. That archive held evidence we need to solidify our case against Vincent and Blake. Arson. Classic Harrington move. When cornered, they burned the house down. I clenched my fists. What else do we have? Declan tapped a few keys. Digital backups are intact thanks to some friends in the tech world, but it's a race against time. If the police can't find solid proof of arson, the Harringtons will claim insurance and rewrite the narrative. I nodded. We'll need witnesses and security footage from nearby buildings. We've got teams on it. While the investigation raged, I threw myself into the work of rebuilding Sterling Ward Holdings. Mother was a constant voice in my ear, pushing me harder. Don't let them intimidate you, she said one afternoon, handing me a steaming cup of espresso. Power is the only language the Harringtons understand. But even with all our legal and financial victories, the scars the Harringtons left were not just physical. Sometimes I felt the weight of every stare, every whispered comment about my face. I caught myself avoiding mirrors or photographs. The scar was a reminder not just of what happened in that boutique, but of everything I'd endured. That evening, Declan and I met at a quiet jazz bar downtown, at the kind with dim lights and bourbon that burned just right. I think they're watching. Us, I said, swirling my glass. Surveillance? Probably. Threats, too. My car was keyed yesterday. Declan grimaced. I've already beefed up security, but this is only the beginning. The Harringtons don't fold easy. We talked long into the night. About strategy, the kind of moves only someone who'd survived corporate wars could appreciate. Days later, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside, a small black box. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single silver locket engraved with a phoenix rising. Attached was a note, burned but not broken. I swallowed hard. Willow. The same girl who tried to ruin me. Was she mocking me, threatening me, or reaching out? I didn't know. At Sterling headquarters, tensions flared. Blake Harrington had begun a public campaign to reclaim his name, filing countersuits and accusing me of defamation. Media outlets were split. Some praised me as a fearless heroine. Others painted me as a ruthless social climber. I ignored the noise and focused on a new project. Sterling Foundation, aimed at helping survivors of domestic abuse and assault. It was personal healing, too. One night after a long board meeting, I found a message on my phone. Meet me where it all began. Meeg. HTW, my heart hammered. I debated ignoring it, but curiosity won. At midnight, I arrived at the boutique where it had all started. The streets were empty, shadows thick. The air smelled faintly of rain and burnt plastic. Then I heard footsteps. Willow stepped out of the darkness. She looked different, vulnerable. No makeup, no attitude. "Why did you send the locket?" I asked. She shrugged. "To remind you and me what destruction can become." I frowned. "You're not here to fight." She shook her head. "Not anymore. Blake lost everything." My world collapsed. I was broken too. Silence settled, and she said, "I want to help. To make things right." Studied her carefully. "Why now?" "Because I'm tired of being the villain. Maybe, maybe it's time we stopped hurting each other." That night marked the start of an uneasy alliance. We pooled information, sharing what we knew about the Harringtons' darkest secrets. It was risky, but necessary. Together, we became a force they hadn't anticipated. The city didn't know it yet, but the true reckoning was just beginning. Broke over Chicago's skyline, I felt a fierce fire burning inside. Not just for revenge, for justice, for redemption, for the future I was finally ready to claim. The weeks that followed Willow's unexpected truce changed everything. With her insider knowledge and my mother's relentless legal prowess, Sterling, Ward Holdings dismantled the Harrington legacy piece by piece, not through brute force, but through precision strikes. Whistleblowers stepped forward. Federal investigators uncovered more corruption. The Harrington family was exposed for what it truly was, a gilded cage of lies, manipulation, and greed. Blake Harrington disappeared from public view. Rumors swirled that he fled the country to escape mounting charges. His sister, broken and disgraced, sought anonymity far from Chicago's unforgiving spotlight. Amid the chaos, I built something new. The Sterling Foundation grew exponentially, providing support, resources, and a voice for survivors of abuse and corruption. I hired experts, activists, and survivors to lead the cause. Our mission was clear: transform pain into power. One evening, as I stood on the rooftop of Sterling Ward's new headquarters, gazing out at the shimmering skyline, my phone buzzed. A message from Declan. "Dinner tonight. No suits, no strategy, just us." I smiled. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to breathe, not as a fighter, but as a woman. At the cozy Italian bistro downtown, Declan greeted me with a warm smile. No hint of the corporate warrior I'd come to rely on. 2 new beginnings, he toasted. "To surviving a fire," I replied. He reached across the table and took my hand. "You did it, Reagan? Turned your pain into power, your scars into strength?" I squeezed his hand back. We did it together. That night, as I walked home under the stars, I traced my fingertips over the faint scar on my cheek. It wasn't just a mark of past violence. It was a symbol of resilience, a reminder that from the ashes of destruction, something beautiful and unstoppable could rise. I was no longer a victim of the Harringtons or anyone else. I was Reagan Sterling, queen of my own destiny. And this was just the beginning of my reign.